Welcome to another episode of the Prosperity Playbook. You've got Renee, Britt, and Courtney here today. And we're going to talk today a little bit about alternative medicine. This has kind of touched all of our lives in various ways. But I'll kind of tell you my story to start off with. When my daughter was born, she was really sick actually pretty much right after I stopped nursing her. She's just was sick all the time. And it wasn't with one thing. It was whatever was at daycare, she would pick it up. It was swine flu and all the other everything else that was out there. And I kept going back to my pediatrician and saying, something isn't right. Like, I don't understand. I understand that kids get sick, but the second she gets off antibiotics for one thing, she is sick again. And then she goes right back on. And all they told me at the time, they were like, well, you got to pull her out of daycare. That's just where the germs are. And I was like, that can't be the answer. Like, she has to go to daycare. My husband and I
she
both
should
work.
just live in a plastic bubble and everything will be fine.
Well, exactly. And I was like, this can't be it. Like, there's something going on. And so she would always get ear infections. That was part of her MO. She'd get an ear infection with every single thing that she had. And so finally they referred me to an ear, nose, and throat specialist. We waited in his office for like an hour and a half. Then he finally came in, saw us for 30 seconds and said, yep, we're going to put her under. We're going to do tubes. We're going to take out her tonsils and her adenoids and do all this stuff. And then he left the room and charged me $700 for that. And I was like, what just happened? And I went back to my office and I just started crying. And I thought, he looked at her for 30 seconds. He didn't try to figure out what the problem was. He just wanted to put her to sleep and chop her open. And it just didn't feel good. She was 2 at the time. So I'm sitting at my desk crying, and my coworker walks in and he's like, what's going on? And I tell him, and he's like, well, you try a naturopathic doctor. And I didn't even honestly know what that was at the time. This would have been in like 2010. And I just didn't even know what it was. And I was like, I'll try anything. She had been to 12 other doctors at that point, and nobody had given me any possible solutions as to what was going on. So I went and saw this doctor who has turned into one of my great friends to this day. Her name is Tanda Cook. And she took one look at Lexi and was like, this kid is allergic to gluten and dairy. And I just sat there open mouthed at her, and she could tell by the dark circles under her eyes that she was an allergy kid. And I had no idea that food allergies could cause all of these other things. But essentially what was happening is her system was constantly compromised because she was eating food that she wasn't supposed to have. And therefore, her immune system was shut down and she picked up absolutely everything that was out there. And so
I would never have known that those symptoms were allergies either.
No. And like I said, Tanda was the 13th doctor I saw, and nobody had any solutions for me. And so we took her off gluten and dairy. And by the way, my family was extremely skeptical of this. My mother-in-law thought I had lost my damn mind. And she was about ready to call CPS on me for you have to feed her gluten and dairy. But anyway, she was immediately a different kid. Within a week, you could absolutely see it. She had brightness in her eyes. She stopped getting sick all the time. And she just got super healthy. So then we actually went and did some food allergy testing for her. And it came back that she was not only allergic to gluten and dairy, but it was gluten, dairy, eggs, soy, nuts, and sesame.
Wow.
And so
what does one eat?
Well, exactly. Meat, veggies,
what a learning,
and fruit.
Yeah, that's a big learning curve.
So I did, she was 2. And so everybody's like, oh my gosh, how do you feed a 2-year-old like that? Mm-hmm. Well, it was easy when she's 2 because she eats what I give her.
Any better. Yeah, exactly.
She eats what I give her.
Yeah.
And I could completely control that. I think it'd be way harder as a teenager now to try to control what she eats. But she immediately was such a different kid that I really believed in it and kind of started trying to spread that message. And when I went back to the pediatrician, years later, Tanda had been out of town. Lexi got sick. And I went back to the pediatrician. First thing she did is look in her ears, and she's like, her ears are clear. I don't understand what's happening. And I was like, oh, she hasn't had another ear infection since the last time I was in here. And she's like, what did you do? And I said, we took her off gluten and dairy, and she never had another one. And I explained all of the rest of the allergies, and she said exactly what you did. What do you feed her? And I was like, meat, veggies, and fruit. That's how all of us should eat. But she was shocked. She couldn't believe it. And now that doctor is still our pediatrician to this day. And now she is well educated in it and, tries to help other parents understand this. But at the time, nobody knew. And that was like gluten-free before gluten-free was cool. And there was not like 47 things you could just go buy at the grocery store. And so we relearned how to cook, and it was a big deal. But learning how food could change your life was a really, really big thing for me. And I personally found once we started eating gluten-free that I no longer had the like 2 p.m. crash after lunch and things like that. So,
I have had a very similar experience. And I think what happens with the way that our medical field is set up is there are so many specialties, and so they, you go in with a problem and they are trying to just diagnose that one problem. They're not looking at you as a whole person. It's like they're looking at one small piece of the puzzle and trying to fix that one piece. And I think that that's where natural medicine can be great, is because I really think that they try to take a big step back and look at you as a whole person and look at what you're eating and the environment that you're in and the stress levels that you're under and all of the contributing factors that are happening to cause the problem. Yeah, exactly. Because, I think doctors are trying to figure out like what's happening inside of your body, but realistically there are so many external factors that are causing what's happening inside of your body.
Well, and I think that doctors as a whole are trying to treat symptoms for the most part. And I don't know that that's totally their fault. I think that's what most patients want. They want the pill that's going to fix the thing.
Yeah.
And for me, I kept saying there has to be something underlying. Like, why is nobody looking at this underlying, like trying to find what's causing all of this?
To just the first solution be to send a 2-year-old to surgery is
They
like,
did that
what?
with Grady too.
That's crazy.
And I looked up, I spent an entire day researching how not to have him go into surgery, and found out Johns Hopkins had done a big research project on kids and why they got colds and ear infections so often. And they're missing trace minerals called selenium and magnesium. And so if I just gave him cod liver oil, then the ear infections would stop and he wouldn't get colds anymore. So I was like, sweet.
Well, I
So,
just had my
did it
tonsils
work?
taken out, so I should have just
worked.
eaten
I
cod oil.
I went to
Damn it.
Gesundheit and got him cod liver oil that came, you could put it in his bottle. I tell everybody when they're having a baby this. It's used to be called Arctic Naturals. I think it's Nordic Naturals now, and it comes from the cod fish out of the Arctic Ocean, and it doesn't taste fishy. They have strawberry, lemon, and orange flavor, and then he switched to these little gelatin balls later, and he loved them. He did not get any ear infections, colds, or anything, and it builds their brain development through the DHA.
That's
Fascinating.
Well, and I think that's the thing. So when you look at these like inflamed tonsils or adenoids or whatever it is, that they might legit be inflamed, but there's something that's causing that to be inflamed. And that was the thing. And for her, it turned out to be that she was allergic to the world, but it ended up once we eliminated some of those things. And for her also, we then found out she was allergic to dogs and cats and all of these things. And so it's like, oh gosh, she really kind of did need to live in a bubble, turns out. But the way that it works is your body fires a histamine response, just like it does to a seasonal allergy. And so there's a certain threshold where it will actually trigger a symptom. So if you think of it like a line, you've got if you have no exposure to anything and then all of a sudden you have little exposures, like your body can kind of tolerate that. But if you get a huge exposure to something, then it spikes up and it gets over the threshold to where it will actually have a physical symptom. But if she has a dog allergy and she's around a dog every day, then her level might be right below that trigger for what it would be a symptom. So any little exposure to anything would pop that reaction. And so if you can eliminate,
her baseline was just elevated all the time.
Exactly. Hard to explain. If you're watching this on Spotify, go look at it on YouTube and you can see me talk with my hands. It'll make more sense. But it is that baseline that really affects it. And it made a lot of sense to me once that was explained.
Grady wasn't allergic to dogs when he was in high school and younger. As soon as he went off to college, he became allergic to dogs. So every time he came home, he was just miserable.
It is funny how the allergies change over time. Lexi at one point was not allergic to dogs, and then she was, and then she wasn't. It's just kind of moves back and forth, and that's actually a really hard and frustrating thing about the allergy thing is it's a moving target. I cooked a lot with coconut flour and almond flour for a while. And then all of a sudden she started being allergic to both of those things because she was overexposed to those. So we had to take those out too. And a big part of her healing process was healing her gut. Because she'd been on so many antibiotics for so many things, she had no good bacteria left in her gut. And so another naturopathic doctor had me take her off all grains, all nightshades. So no potatoes, no tomatoes, and then take out even the rice flour and everything for a while. So that really did give her gut a chance to heal. And once her gut was healed, then she could handle more.
Has she tried the baked goods that are war yet?
She isn't really allergic to any of that stuff anymore. So, but
Because supposedly the European flours don't have the same processed stuff in them that causes our gluten allergies.
well, that's true. So here's my biotechnology degree actually getting put to work here, people. So this is the one time it's ever come into play for me. But people are always a little skeptical about the gluten-free thing, right? Because everybody's gluten-free anymore. And they're like, how can this many people all of a sudden be allergic to something that our bodies have seen for years? Well, our bodies are not seeing that old grain, that ancient grain. We have genetically engineered everything, and maybe not even like changing the actual DNA, but we've done it through selective crop breeding and things like that. So basically, the wheat that we consume as Americans is 1,200 years more evolved than what our guts are. And so our gut actually cannot recognize what that is that we're eating. It doesn't recognize it as
We're basically
fruit.
just eating plastic.
I mean, it's just something our guts don't know. So then when you go to Europe and they haven't done all this selective crop breeding, it's those same things. It's the exact same things that our ancestors ate and had no problems. So a lot of people can go to Europe, or you can order these ancient grains things and don't have any problems with them.
Is that like when you go to a different country and drink the water and we're not used to that bacteria?
Totally. That's exactly right. Like you can go to Mexico and the Mexicans can drink the water all of the time and not have any issues with it. But when we go there, our guts are like, whoa, this is not what we're used to. So a little bit
I drank
different.
the water in Vipatina, Italy. Got so sick.
When I was in high school, I started having these terrible stomach pains my junior year of high school, where my stomach would get really distended, and like if you pushed on it, it was rock hard, and it was really high up on my stomach, and I would get these really weird cramps, and I started losing a bunch of weight. I was just like shedding weight. I would throw up. I was just sick. And same thing with Lex. I went to a bunch of different doctors, and they tested me for Crohn's disease and ulcerative colitis, and they did a big allergy panel on me, and I did a scope and a colonoscopy to see if there was like some sort of ulcer or if there was, you know, something physically wrong. And basically the doctors just kept saying, well, are you eating your probiotics? And I was very, very sick. I mean, this was not just I wasn't eating the right foods. Like I was not okay. And I was a very healthy, athletic volleyball player. And then all of a sudden I wasn't. And like I would run off the volleyball court to go throw up. And
That's miserable.
That's awful.
it was terrible. And I lost a bunch of weight, and I was really, really low energy. Like I remember there was one day when I was walking down the hall, and like I had to think about picking my legs up to take the next step because they felt super heavy. And the doctors just kept, they basically every time I went in, I was getting no helpful information, and I would go see a new doctor and they would run a lot of the same tests, and I was just not getting any answers. And then we ended up going, my mom and my little sister and I went to Salt Lake City because my little sister had, basically, long story short, she had broken a bone and had a bad reaction to the cast she was in. And so we were seeing a specialist to help fix her skin, to help heal her skin. And the doctor was looking at her and looked at my mom and looked at me and was like, okay, I know that you're here for her. And then she looks at me and she goes, you look terrible. And I was like, yeah, I feel terrible. And she just asked me a couple of questions. She asked how long I had been feeling that way. She asked what symptoms I was experiencing, and then she asked what I do in the summer. And I was on the river all the time, floating in the whitewater with my family, and she was like, I think you have a parasite. And she prescribed me this specific heavy duty antibiotic, and 3 days later I felt normal. And it had been like 10 months of being sick and nobody giving me any answers. And she wasn't a naturopath. She was a family doctor, but she took the time to listen and be curious and ask questions. And I remember feeling like I was just like cattle being pushed through a chute to be branded when I was seeing all of these doctors, where it was just like I was a number. They were just trying to get me through as fast as possible. And she actually, like, I wasn't even there. I wasn't even the patient. And she just cared. And
That's amazing.
it
love to
was,
hear that.
I'm so thankful for her. I mean, I would have just kept getting sicker and sicker.
I will say that is definitely something I've experienced with naturopathic medicine in general is they don't have a quota that they're trying to get through for their hospital or whatever that they work at. They will take more time and really ask the questions, and they want to know the underlying stuff as opposed to just like, they're not going to throw a pill at it. That's very rarely what their answer is. They're trying to figure out what is causing this. So I really do love that. And by the way, I'm not ripping completely on Western medicine. We met with a cardiologist for my daughter yesterday, and he took a ton of time with us and really explained things. And I appreciated that. I did not feel like he was, putting me through the cattle chute to get us out of there. And so there definitely are good doctors out there. But I think the point of this episode is if you're somebody that is not finding the answers, look towards those alternate sources. And that might be a naturopathic doctor. And basically, I mean, maybe should we define that? Maybe what naturopathic doctor is? I mean, they still went to medical school. They still have all of these, all of the specialties.
Can prescribe a regular prescription medicine.
It's a blend of holistic practices and Western medicine, where they're trying to look at it from a preventative, natural perspective, where they're blending functional and integrative health, where, it's not just, hey, I'm feeling this one symptom and I want a Band-Aid to put on it. It's how can I be the most healthy version of myself and tackle this from a natural perspective first. And then if the natural perspective isn't fixing it, do I need an antibiotic or do I need an x-ray? I definitely think there's a healthy version of both. I mean, even with my parasite, had I just gone to a naturopath, I still would have had to take an antibiotic in order to heal myself. So there's definitely a healthy mix of both. But
exactly.
I love being able to look at, like, what are my hormones doing to me right now? What is my stress level and cortisol level doing to me right now?
Or even some of the stuff we like soy that affects your hormones.
Well, and I think that's something that people don't realize is that your gut and your brain are directly related. Like, what's happening in your gut absolutely affects your brain. And you can see that on a day-to-day basis. Like, if you eat a super unhealthy cinnamon rolls for breakfast, your brain doesn't work as well the rest of the day as
Absolutely.
if you fuel it with green veggies or protein or something in the morning like that. It's just a real thing. Our gut, when people say trust your gut, that's what it means, is that's the very primal situation of your gut literally being connected to your brain.
I think some common areas that naturopaths help with are gut health, like we were just talking about, food sensitivities, digestive issues. They help with hormone balance. That can be your thyroid, menopause. There's been a lot of conversation, like a kind of a hot topic has been adrenal fatigue lately. And so that's something that's big with naturopaths, autoimmune and inflammation support, allergies, like we talked about, and chronic fatigue, which is typically a symptom of something else going on. Stress, sleep, energy regulation. But I think really how it's different from a regular doctor, like if you just go see a family practitioner, typically your appointment with a naturopath, at least in my experience, obviously this isn't medical advice, this is just based on my own experience, but appointments are typically longer, more conversation based. They typically look at the whole picture, like I said, where they're asking a lot of questions about your environment, what your activity level is, how your stress level is. And in my experience, they have ordered a lot more detailed labs like hormone and micronutrient panels. And because of that, it was pretty pricey. A lot of naturopaths aren't covered by traditional health insurance. I do foresee that changing in the future. So it can be a little bit more pricey. There are a couple of naturopaths in Bozeman right now that offer it's almost like paying a prescription service or a subscription service where you're paying like $300 a month, but with that $300 a month, you get all of your appointments and all of your hormone panels and everything tested. But a lot of people that I have talked to are, instead of having health insurance, they're just paying for one of those and going to their naturopath all the time, which means they're taking really good care of themselves. But then in the instance that they get in a car accident or something really big happens, they don't have health insurance, which can put you in medical bankruptcy. So it's kind of hard to know, like, what is the right path to take if you have limited money to spend on your health.
My experience with learning about natural medicine came from when I first moved here, and Arbonne, which Tanda was part of or still is, came to my real estate office, and we did one of those little home demonstrations of their products. And I learned about sodium lauryl sulfate being in our toothpaste and our shampoo, and then the urea and just really weird, gross stuff that you use to clean the floor. And I was like, we put that in our mouth and on our head. And then my friend started teasing me when I switched everything to being more natural and said, "Oh, go eat the bark off the tree, Courtney."
Maybe you should.
It might help. I was standing in my front yard talking to my new neighbor a long time ago and explaining to her what I had felt like, because she told me she was a naturopathic doctor. And she said, "Oh, well, we should do a blood test." I said, "Well, I've done plenty of blood tests, and they just keep telling me that there's nothing wrong." She said, "Did they do a 3-hour blood test?" Nope. So I had to go drink the yucky.
As a consumer, how are you even supposed to know that? You
don't.
go in and ask for a blood test. Like, how am I supposed to know there's a different kind of blood test?
No, they don't tell you.
No, they don't tell you that. And that's the thing. Like, your standard blood panel that a MD is going to do for you is very different. They're probably not going to run your hormones, and they're probably not going to run some of these other panels. So just because you've had blood work cleared and they told you it's totally normal doesn't mean a naturopath won't run different panels and find something very different.
So I drank the orange gross drink, sat there for 3 hours, and finally on the 3rd hour asked, "Can I please go for a walk? I can't sit here any longer," which is what I had been experiencing. And then we realized it's sugar. And I had insulin resistance. It was showing up after having an influx of sugar like that, or drinking a margarita, or eating carbs. And then I would feel really nauseous, really lethargic, and just ugh. And so I had to go for a walk and just kind of burn it out of my system at the 3rd hour. And sure enough, that's where it spiked. The insulin would attack all that sugar, and then I'd be hypoglycemic, and that's where the tiredness came from and the nausea. So all I had to do was just cut out a lot of sugar and carbs and felt amazingly better.
Yeah, it's actually pretty shocking how many people have that insulin resistance anymore, and it's not something most doctors test for.
Nope.
So I think along those lines, like, I guess I just want to say, kind of reiterating, there are times that you'll need an antibiotic. You'll need some sort of a prescription medication, but
You'll need surgery.
right. There's definitely going to be times like that. But a lot of times the antibiotics are so overused, and I've seen doctors prescribe antibiotics for something that's viral. Well, that's not going to do any good. You're just literally throwing pills at something to make somebody feel better, and it's a placebo effect. So just be aware that I think that it's kind of shifting now. In fact, when we went to urgent care with my daughter not that long ago, there was a little chart on the wall, and it's explained viral versus bacterial. And it flat explained, like, if this is what you have, you will not be leaving with antibiotics today. And I'm really glad, because I think there needs to be more education around that. But there's so many different natural things that you can do, different tinctures that I don't even understand, and I won't even try. Just know that there are things out there.
Homeopathic, I don't understand, but it works.
It does work. There's a lot of homeopathic remedies, and you can go to like a Gesundheit in Bozeman, a health food store, and you find somebody knowledgeable in there. They can help.
The placebo effect, I'm glad you mentioned that, because the placebo effect is fascinating. So if you don't know what the placebo effect is, basically, like, for example, there will be a study where half of the patients are given an actual pill that, has medicine in it, like, I don't know, let's just say like an antipsychotic. The other half of the participants are given a sugar pill that doesn't have anything in it. It's just a sugar pill.
And they don't know.
And they don't know that it is a sugar pill. They think that they are actually getting the drug that has, the benefits or the medicine or whatever in it. The placebo effect is when the people that took the sugar pill experienced the positive benefits that they would have experienced had they taken the actual pill. So
Mind over matter.
something that's really fascinating is if you think that something is helping you, it most likely is going to start helping you, because our neurotransmitters are going to release chemicals that tell your body like you're healing, and it will start naturally doing things without you having to actually intake a chemical. So it's just really interesting. There's a couple of stone shops in town that have, like rose quartz, for example. And then next to the rose quartz, the description of what that stone is supposed to do when you carry it with you is it is supposed to emit feelings of self-love. These shop owners say that stones all have a vibrational frequency. And so depending on what vibrational frequency is close to your body at all times, it will change how you're feeling. I don't know about all of that, but I do know that if I put a rose quartz in my pocket and it stands for self-love, every time I stick my hand in my pocket and I remember that stone is in there, I'm going to pull it out and it's going to remind me self-love, and I'm going to take a second and feel self-love.
Totally.
And, so it's just,
Well,
it's
it
pretty
can't hurt.
interesting.
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Where like,
No side
even if
effects.
some of these essential oils or rocks or tinctures or whatever, like if you think that they have a benefit, they're going to help you.
Well, there is one that I learned about at Gesundheit called Bach Flower Remedies. It's BACH.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a whole line of different flowers that are healing. And the one that I experienced was when I was feeling situationally depressed from going through a life experience and could not handle that feeling of weight from the depression and the sadness and the lump in your throat. And the mustard tincture took it right away. And it was all natural.
I love
and it was
that.
just had this really nice feeling of elation. It wasn't like you were high or anything. It was just, ooh, happy now.
I think there are a lot of different modalities that you can use to feel better, to get your body to relax, to calm your brain. Like there's so many different things that you can do, and it can almost be overwhelming to try to decide where do you start or which one's the most important. But I think anything is better than nothing, and it's different for every person. Like I love acupuncture, but there are a lot of my friends that terrifies them. And I love chiropractic, and there's a lot of people that think it's a hoax and don't want their neck cracked and won't ever go see a chiropractor. So
Chiropractic is definitely not a hoax. It has helped me so much in my life. But
Same.
I
And
can
my,
tell.
my doctor even said, keep going to Dr. Kim.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of acupuncture. I just assume that Lauren can fix me no matter what's wrong with me. Like I actually came into it by accident. We had a acupuncturist in our Biz to Biz group, and I just didn't think I had any interest in it. Was listening, but I just didn't think it was for me. And then all of a sudden one day she said, one of the things I can work on is if you have like a long-standing nagging injury that just won't go away. That's something that acupuncture can do, because it literally just tells your body to send a signal to itself to heal that thing. And I was like, that's worth a try. Like, let's go. And I had this ankle that I had rolled years before, and it just never healed right. I went and saw her one time, and it was totally better. I was like, okay, I'm just going to expect you to fix everything on me from now on. And it's, I won't say that it's the magical cure-all, but it definitely can be a cool thing, because that's what it does. It tells your body how to heal itself. And I love that, because one of the chiropractors I used to see told me one time that even the most skilled doctor cannot heal a wound or heal a cut. Your body has to do that on its own. And so being able to put trust in our own bodies to heal themselves and just give them the right nudge, that's really cool, I think.
And the needles don't hurt. They're like
No,
little
they're so teeny
feathers.
tiny. Yeah.
They can, like, if you hit a spot that like is really like the magic spot where it needs to be hit, like you'll get a little like, whoa, what was that? But it dissipates really quickly. And if you are somebody that's scared to death of it, tell them. They will use teeny tiny baby needles on you so that you will not feel them.
Well, and the pain is interesting because it's not like, it doesn't feel like a needle pain. It's like your muscle almost spasms, and it's
exactly what it
is. So it's not, it doesn't feel like you're just being stabbed.
I think the only ones that have hurt are like between your toes. That was a tender spot. But I've had them all in my head.
Me too.
And I had a lot of fluid in my chest, and I kept dreaming about water, and there was something going on there, but she put needles in me, and oh my goodness, I had to go to the bathroom so bad, and it just like released all that.
It is
fluid.
pretty fascinating what you could do. And drainage is a big thing. Just, infrared saunas, that kind of thing can help with inflammation. I see a massage therapist and she can really do like, she does this like lymphatic drainage situation. I think the hot and cold therapy, doing like a cold plunge and
going to the hot springs is one of my favorite things because we have a local hot springs here, Bozeman Hot Springs, that has a couple of cold plunges, and then they have some really hot pools, and then they also have a dry sauna and a steam room. And one of my favorite things is to alternate between the dry sauna and the cold plunge. And like, I'll get high. Like, I will literally, when I leave, I can't drive. I get in my car and I'm like, I feel like I just took drugs because my brain has so many feel good chemicals in it right now.
That's
it's awesome.
That is awesome.
I'm chicken with the freezing cold.
You know what? It's interesting. I did it for a while. I haven't done the cold plunge, but I would just crank my shower to cold for like 30 seconds. And I did it for a while. And it honestly, I used to be cold all the time. And it cured me from that. I am not cold all the time.
It's just like that leaping into the cold is.
Yeah. And it didn't take me that long. And I haven't done it in probably a couple years now, but it literally fixed my sensitivity to the cold.
I love that.
Weird.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
Something that I love about all of these different modalities, chiropractic, acupuncture, massage therapy, hot and cold therapy, is it's kind of like an ancient medicine meets modern medicine where like these are things that have been done for thousands of years, like back before antibiotics and modern medicine existed, people were trying to heal themselves using a lot of these methods. And I think there's something really magical and special about that, like getting back to how did our ancestors take care of themselves? Because I mean,
well, they ate.
There's something to that.
Well, that's true. I mean, that is, it goes back to what I was saying earlier about the like frankenfoods, like everything that is so processed, our bodies do not know how to process that at all. I mean, if it comes in a box, chances are your body's like, what are you doing to me right now? If it's, fruits and vegetables and meats and things like that, like your body knows exactly what to do with those things and it can utilize it.
I told y'all I just watched that documentary. It's called The Food Cure. And this doctor took some different complications people were having and introduced and then took away foods until he figured out that if you just juiced and ate certain vegetables every day, and then he actually made them do a coffee enema, and I had to look up why they did that, but it's because all of that was getting to your liver and releasing toxins from your liver, and he wanted them to get out of your body ASAP. So that's why the coffee part happened. But he took 6 patients with different types of cancer, including a baby, and had them go through it. It's pretty intense. It's not something you can just say, oh, I'm going to eat all fruits and vegetables and think you're going to get cured. You actually have to go through a certain process and have supplements because it actually could kill you with doing what they were doing. But there were over 1,000 people that cured themselves of cancer, just like you were saying, where you heal that wound in your body, and it's your body attacking the cancer instead of a drug attacking the cancer.
Whoa.
It was kind of mind-blowing. I
think there's a lot of, you could just Google, like miracle cures. I think there's a lot of that it's all kind of unknown, like I don't think that if every single person that's ever had cancer did that, they're going to be cured, but also like clearly some people were able to be. So
it was expensive and it was intense. They were eating fruit and vegetables like 13 times a day. They had to quit their day jobs. They had to have people come in and help them because it was just nonstop.
Wow. Well, I think, again, the moral of the story is that don't give up. If you've got health challenges that are ongoing and you're not finding answers, look towards some of these alternative things. And sometimes it is the simple things, but you do have to be an advocate for your own health. I think that is super important. And if you live somewhere that maybe the greatest healthcare isn't available, you might have to be willing to look somewhere else. I have always said if I needed a massive medical procedure, I'm not doing it in Montana. Yeah. I'm going to go somewhere where they've done it tens of thousands of times before.
Yeah. And we have telemedicine now, so you can at least start there. And it's
absolutely
not as invasive or expensive.
Absolutely.
Before we wrap up, what if what is one of your favorite methods that you use consistently that you would consider to be alternative medicine?
Absolutely naturopathy.
Do you have a naturopath in town that you use?
Brianna McElgun, she was my neighbor. She had Gallatin Valley Natural Medicine here. She's in Alaska currently. But she's so dang intuitive. And she kind of takes that Ayurvedic approach where she's looking holistically at everything going on in my life and seeing where things come from. But anytime I've given her symptoms, she knows instantly, and then she backs up whatever it is with tests. So she prescribes me a thyroid medicine now that is a prescription, because that was what the option was. There used to be a more natural version, but it's not. I think it's back on the market now, but anyway.
Discontinued for a while.
Yeah, I think they ran out of it, or who knows. It could have been the FDA got involved. But I also, meadow sweet herbs, I learned. When I first moved here, there was Heart and Soul Herbs downtown, and she told me to try the allergies. So it's like allergies, but with the EASE at the end. And it had some different herbal remedies inside of a tincture. Stinging nettles, I remember being an ingredient of it, and then mawbong. So it was on the market at the co-op for 18 years, and the FDA took it off the market because of the mawbong. And I'm sure there was some other reason for it, but you can get it now through Missoula's Meadow Sweet Herbs, but you have to go there and actually have an appointment. But it got rid of every one of my allergies.
Wow.
And I was sick.
That's amazing.
All the time.
How about you, Renee?
Well, maybe I need to try Courtney's naturopath, because I've been kind of looking for another good one for years to try to just kind of find somebody good. But obviously, I'm a big believer in acupuncture. I get a ton of massages. I have a lot of back issues, and I really do think it makes a big difference for me. She has an infrared mat. I go to a gal named Nina at Complete Body Works here. She's got an infrared sauna you can go in as well. And we do a lot of essential oils at my house. And I know that sounds like super fluffy, but I am a little bit fluffy, I'll admit it. But I swear, like if you've never tried Digest Zen, like if you have an upset stomach, that will cure at any time. Or even activated charcoal, like all of that kind of natural stuff can fix an upset stomach really, really easily. So yeah, I mean, I'm honestly super open to anything at this point because of my experience with Lexi, and it's made such a difference for her in all of our family's life that like you could tell me I had to put a rock in my pocket and it would fix me, and I would be like, okay, I'll give it a shot. Like, what? There's no side effects to the rock in my pocket.
Exactly.
So
I have a magnesium cream that I put on the bottoms of my feet and behind my knees before I go to bed. Apparently, most people are deficient in magnesium, but it's just very calming. The one that I have smells really good too, but it's super calming. It's part of my bedtime routine. And whether it's placebo or not, don't care. I sleep so much better when I use it.
I saw that online somewhere, and I wanted to
love
try
it.
it, so I'm glad
Yeah.
to know it works.
yeah,
It's
you'll have to
fantastic.
show us what it is.
Yeah.
I think that is a big one. Water and sleep, honestly, are probably your best natural things, and they don't cost you any money.
And cut out sugar.
Yeah.
And cutting out sugar. Sugar is literally fuel
Poison.
for parasites, for cancer. A lot of times, if you're somebody that has sugar cravings all the time, it is probably the bacteria in your gut actually craving that. Like that is what feeds the problem bacteria, and they send a message directly to your brain telling you that that's what you want. And so you do have to kind of detox off of it for a while, let those whatever bacteria, the bad bacteria, die off, and then you'll lose those cravings once they're gone.
I don't have them.
It's a super, super interesting thing how that really works. But I think it's, just kind of being open to what else is really out there, listening to your gut, as I said.
But also be careful, because there are some quacky things out there that you need to do your research on.
Yeah. No snake oil salesman.
No parasite machine that's going to send them crawling out of my head.
That sounds like my actual nightmare. I'm horrified by that.
I think just health isn't one size fits all. The goal isn't to be perfectly quote unquote natural, but it's to feel aligned, to feel energized and feel in tune with your body. Exactly. Balanced. Yeah. So I would say that my challenge for everybody listening to this is to call somebody this week and get something on your schedule, whether it's a chiropractor, an acupuncture, going to a naturopath, anything that you feel might help you. Most towns are going to have some sort of natural medicine store. Like we have Gesundheit Nutrition here in town that's pretty popular, but just explore, go be curious, and see if there's something that you might be willing to try and integrate into your routine, and let us know how it works for you.
Absolutely. And as always, if this is helpful, please like, share, subscribe. Our goal is to try to spread information to as many people as we can to help as many people. So please do pass it along. We're here for you. And we'd love to hear in the comments what your experiences are with naturopathic medicine or anything other alternative.
Thank you so much for tuning in. We will see you next week. Here's to empowering each other one story at a time.
Cheers.